Yep, title and thumbnail are right, guys. With this big Bioactive Mourning Gecko build, I messed up. One of these could be quite catastrophic. I'm going to need your help with. Let's start off and have a look through that one. Now, if you've been following the series on this build, because it has been a full series on loads of different videos to do with this, how much it cost, how to build it, etc, etc, etc. But if you haven't, a quick update, it's a Mourning Gecko breeding facility, to be fair. That's all it really is. Fully bioactive. It was built as a crested gecko enclosure, but is used for mourning geckos. Now, I have been saying an awful lot that I can't see them. I never actually see the mourning geckos, to the point where I've actually thought, oh no, are they escaping? But when I come in the reptile room at night, I do see the odd one or two kicking around, but I've never actually seen all four. There's 4 mourning geckos in here. Wow, last night I come in from work and there was one sat on this glass. You'll see these little caps here. They're just film canisters that I put there so they could lay their eggs inside them. However, I come in last night, as I said, there was one on the glass just here, and I went up to it and went, oh, look at that, because I wanted to check the belly, see if they've got any eggs growing inside them. That's how I would be able to tell that the animals are doing quite well in here, if they are producing quite well. Well, that mourning gecko ran from here, up over the top of here, and then, can you see that little bit of foam? Just in there. Well, that's a hole. Quite frankly, that's a hole. Let me show you from a different angle. I don't know how well we're going to pick it up, but it's there. And there's a bit of a hole, and it goes into the foam background. Now, granted, it's not in the full background. It's just a hole sort of here. So there is mourning geckos inside them. Now, what's the problem with that? One, I'm never going to really see them too much. They do come out, they do stretch their legs, they do all their normal stuff, but they're going to start laying their eggs in there. So ideally, I could do with capping it off. But how can I cap it off if there's still mourning geckos in there? And from the back over here, I can't see if there's any mourning geckos in there. So how do I fix it? And obviously, again, I need to cap it off. I need to sort of hide it. But how do I get the mourning geckos out? And when they are out, how do I know that they're all out? I don't know what to do with that, but I can't have that there much longer because I don't want them in there. The foam, everything in there, they can't come out for their food. It's a catastrophic disaster, that tiny little hole. And it literally is just a tiny, tiny little hole. What do I do? What do I do? Now, I have spoke to other people, and they come up with some really drastic ideas that I'm not really comfortable at doing. One of them is fill it full of water. As it fills up slowly, the mourning geckos will all shoot out. And then when they're all out, cap it off with a bit of silicone or a bit of substrate. I did have another hole at the top just there, but I just put a weeping dew plant in there and filled it full of substrate. How do I do this one? Right, we'll go on to the next problem. There's not really a problem of some sort, to be fair. Now, if you remember on the build video, this whole ledge here, this feeding ledge, this plant pot area, this was just a second thought. I had a bit of space there. I thought I could do something with it and fill it. So I put some more foam on there, made the feeding ledge, made the little planter in there, covered over the waterfall that's down there. If you want to see a video on how I built this enclosure, because it's absolutely amazing, I'll leave a video card just up there. Just click on that and it will take you through to it. But I've since remembered why I left it clear, and that's because I had a big heat mat that I was just going to attach to this side to keep them over to this side, so they had like food dish and stuff all over this side. That side was originally for a heat mat. Now, how am I going to add heat and UV? Well, the way I've come across that one is, quite frankly, I'm just no longer going to be using a heat mat on the side of that one. I've come up with the solution of using a heat bulb with a dome. I'm toying up the option of whether to go for a mercury vapor bulb, a small mercury vapor bulb. That way I've got UV and heat, and I can have it as a heat gradient coming down the enclosure. Failing that, I could just use it as a heat bulb itself, but this is the product I'm using for the heating side of it all. Just a normal bog standard clamp lamp, but this is the black edition from Reptile Systems. It's absolutely amazing. Comes with the black clamp that goes over the front as well. Look at that. That's just amazing. Now, I don't know whether to just sit this on top of the enclosure, because it is black. It will look pretty decent on top of there. Or whether to secure it to the back wall and have it suspended over, because I have got brackets and stuff that I can use to suspend it. I have got a clamp there as well, so I could quite easily suspend this from that back wall coming out and down to the enclosure. I don't know. That's just one of the modifications we might have coming over the next week or so. Hopefully, if we had heat, they'll be out a lot more as well because they'll be basking within the heat itself. But then on to problem number 3. This one is that big mess just there. That's quite simply it. There is a lot of plugs, way more plugs than I actually anticipated. I didn't even think of the plugs and the electric supply to this when I was actually building it. But we've got a plug just there. That's for the Pro 10 LED light just there. That's what gives it that amazing look all the way inside. That's the Reptile Systems Pro 10 LED light. I love that light because it just absolutely makes the plants grow wild. That's a pothos plant. It was on top of that to start with. But now it's in there and it's doing absolute wonders, especially for that hosta plant just there. But yeah, that plant just there is for the light. That plug just there is for the misting system. That plug just there is for the actual waterfall itself, that running waterfall. We've got that plug just there, that's for the misting system. And that's just the 4 plugs there. And I've still got more to add into it. I've got to have to add a thermostat, that dome light that's going to go up there somewhere. We've got so much more. So I'm going to have to figure all this out and make it a lot more neater because it is absolutely butt ugly just there. But I didn't think about that when I did do the plug for the actual pump itself, the water pump one, the water that comes out of that back corner there. I've had to extend it on the back there to come round and actually fit into it just there. That's an absolute mess. But what? Look, check that out. I've hidden the water pump now for the misting system. That's what it looks like. I've got all the Mourning Geckos just sat there nicely. That's the adults enclosure just there. That's the eggs. Now that's just simply, there was a load of eggs just up there. I think I've got 5 left in there. Inside this one just here, obviously it's all just been misted down. That's why it's all a bit fogged up. Got 2 babies in there somewhere. Yeah, somewhere in there. And we've got another enclosure just there, ready and waiting for any more that do decide to hatch out. But so far, that's looking absolutely amazing. But there is so many plugs to run this one simple enclosure. So if you can think of a cool little solution to do with the electrics, now obviously I can hide that extension around the back of the enclosure quite easily. So it does look ugly at the minute, but I've just got to rearrange absolutely everything, the fogger, and I've just got to rearrange things around to do it. But that's very heavy, so I can't really move it too much. Now I do have to make a couple of huge shout outs for this enclosure. One goes to the Patreon supporters and one to the membership supporters, simply because the money I got from that went straight into this big build just here. If you are a channel member or a Patreon supporter, I do highly appreciate you and I thank you massively. I hope you do enjoy the perks of being a Patreon or a membership supporter. But that right there is my 3 big mistakes with this big build. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. On screen right now you'll see a playlist of all the videos to do with this big bioactive enclosure, if you did so fancy clicking on it to take a look yourselves.